Hi, good afternoon, everyone. We are right at the top of the hour, but since we just opened it up, I can see the numbers starting to rise. So we're going to wait just maybe a minute so that everyone can get on board. This is the Writing for Wellbeing webinar. So if that's where you think you are in the right place. We'll wait just a minute. I see all the people joining.
Anne, are we allowed to talk while we wait?
You sure are.
do you make it back to Iowa City very, very often, if ever?
Seldom, man. I need to get back soon, though.
Yeah, me too.
All right, it looks like it's slowing down. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm sure a few more people will be popping in. Welcome, everyone. This is the third day of Wellbeing Week in Law, sponsored by the Institute for Wellbeing in Law. And today's theme, as you all know, we have a different theme of well-being for each day. And today is actually a combined of two dimensions, which is career well-being and intellectual well-being, which are really interrelated. It's, at the core of it, it's really about growth and positive challenge. And today we're going to be talking about writing for well-being, and I'll get to that in just a second. I'm Ann Bradford. I'm the Vice President of the Institute for Wellbeing in Law, and I am the founder and chair of Wellbeing Week in Law. And so we're just really excited to be in our third year and have some really incredible programming like we have today. And before I introduce our fantastic speaker, I just want to quickly thank our sponsors, Virgin Pulse and Canyon Ranch. Are sponsoring Wellbeing Week this year. And we also have a ton of really great state level collaborators that are also working to get people to participate during Wellbeing Week this year. So now I get to turn to introducing our fabulous speaker. Nate Johnson is going to be leading the session today. And there are a lot of great things about Nate. One of them is that he is a graduate from University of Iowa Law School, which is also where I went. And I was really inspired by one of our alumni news bits about Nate, and so reached out to him about today's session. And what he's going to talk about is writing. Writing for well-being. And tons of studies have found that different types of writing promote mental health, positive mood, personal and professional development, a lot of good stuff. And Nate has experienced this firsthand. He is the founder and executive director of an organization called FreeWriters, which I just think is an incredible thing that he did. And he has seen the benefits of writing firsthand. And what FreeWriters does is it provides inmates in a Minnesota County jail system with writing opportunities to improve their own mental health and potentially reduce recidivism, inspire hope for the next chapters of their lives. And so Nate is going to talk a little bit about his own story and then lead a writing activity that hopefully you'll consider adding to your own well-being toolbox. And I'll give you a heads up that a little bit later, after Nate shares his story and some thoughts about his experiences with writing, he's going to lead a writing activity and invite some folks to share. So we're currently working right now in the background on inviting everyone to unmute. So you might see, we'll see how that goes. But you might see some notices about being unmuted. So with that, Nate, I'm happy to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Anne. It's great to make your acquaintance, and I was really flattered that you got in touch, and I'm very excited to share some of the things that I've learned with this community of lawyers. I quit practicing law, at least for now, a couple of years ago. But before that, I worked as a solo for a while. I was in-house for a while. And then most recently I worked as a, as a prosecutor in a county attorney's office in southern Minnesota. And so that's where I'll pick up the story that will lead to the birth and the creation of the nonprofit that I run. And then that will lead to the interactive portion of the meeting, which I really hope that we're able to do. But if we're able to do it with respect to technology, I really hope that some of the people on the webinar will be willing to get just a tiny bit vulnerable and do the writing and maybe even some sharing as well. So to go back to 2018, I was working in the Waseca County Attorney's Office, which is a small county in southern Minnesota, and just not liking it very much. And with hindsight, with the benefit of hindsight, I can see that I personally didn't like any attorney job that I had very much. But that was partly to do with my inattention to my own mental health. I'm a sober guy. I've been sober for just over 10 years. And so throughout my legal career, I have been, sober and in recovery. But I was always too proud to delve too much into questions about depression or anxiety. And I was certainly too ego-driven to think that I could try to find a career that seemed to suit me better. But anyway, events unfolded in such a way that I just couldn't ignore the signals. And so what happened to me was when I was living in Mankato, Minnesota, and working in Waseca, I was going to AA meetings in Mankato. And when I was there, I met a young man named Joe, who was a county drug court participant, who said that he needed an AA sponsor. And so he and I went out and had a pizza after the meeting. And I found out that he had an absolute horror show of a childhood. But he was a bright guy who had at the time 6 or 7 months of sobriety, and really needed to start to process some of the trauma he'd experienced as a kid, and really intended to get on his feet and be a good dad to his young girls and a happy member of society. So Joe and I bonded very quickly and started to work together, and we sort of became each other's recovery program. And all while this was happening, I was just deciding, okay, this prosecutor gig just is not for me. But I didn't know what else to do. So eventually I just decided I need to get out of this job for the sake of my own mental health. And I talked with a friend I knew in AA, and he said, well, I know a therapist up at the VA hospital in Minneapolis. I happen to be a veteran. He said, this guy might be able to help you. And so I went and talked to this guy, and he said, well, you might not want to quit practicing law forever, but maybe it'd be a good idea just to take some time and do some self-discovery and some self-care. And so my AA sponsee, Joe, and I maintained very close contact, even though we were about 90 miles apart. And I took a creative writing class at a place here in Minneapolis called the Loft Literary Center. And on day one of that class, the instructor showed us this thing called FreeWriting, which many of you may have done, I don't know, throughout your lives, but for whatever reason, I was in my late 30s and hadn't heard about it. And it's very simple. It was meant in this writing class as a means for us to make a first draft of a piece of writing, or just to generate ideas for stories, poems, essays. And so the way it works is you pick a random writing prompt like the day I was born, or September 11th, or my best friend, or eggs and bacon. I mean, it really doesn't matter. And then everybody in the room writes that prompt at the top of the page. And then the instructor sets a 5-minute timer. And when she said go, we all started writing. And the only rule, it did not matter at all what any of us wrote. It didn't matter if it made sense, if we spelled anything correctly. What mattered is that we didn't stop writing the whole 5 minutes. And again, this may not be news to some of you, this technique or this method, but it was to me. And then at the end of the 5 minutes, she invited anybody in the room who wanted to share what they had written to do so. So I immediately found the whole thing to be highly therapeutic, in addition to being a great tool for creative writers and fiction writers and legal writers, frankly. And I found that I kind of got lost in the middle of these free writes. And then I started to find that rather than my telling the blank page what it was about, the page was kind of telling me what it was about. And I found that I was beginning to learn things. I was beginning to learn what I actually thought and what I wanted to do and what I care about. And then when I would share these writings with my new friends and classmates, I found that I got to know them really well. And a lot of what they wrote was really funny or really deep or dark. But anyway, I just really thought the whole thing was pretty exhilarating and cathartic. And so meanwhile, my friend in Mankato, the young guy struggling with sobriety, violated the terms of his probation and got a 60-day sanction in the county jail. And so when I went to see him with my attorney ID, I got us, I got pretty deep into the bowels of the facility. And that's where I learned that in a county jail, at least in Minnesota, an inmate never gets to go outside or have any access to natural light, really. And so as I was thinking about how my young friend was going to cope with these 60 days, I just thought I would go absolutely nuts with no access to natural light for 60 consecutive days. So then I asked him, what do they have in the way of classroom programming, in terms of creative arts programming or yoga or life skills? And he said nothing except Bible and 12-step. So I was really worried for his sanity. And so I taught him this free writing thing that I had been doing. And I just said, listen, I don't know if you're going to like this. I don't know if it'll help you, but it's certainly helping me figure out, how to get through the lonely or the depressing moments in life. So Joe tried it. He loved it. I asked him at the end of his 60 days if he thought the other guys in his quad would like it too. And he said, hell yes. He said, lots of these people are very intelligent and creative and have nothing to do except just sit around and be pissed off and ashamed and lonely. And so with that, I had a connection in Minneapolis in the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. And I approached them in late 2019 and asked if I could try leading these free writing classes for the inmates in the Hennepin County Jail. And they let me try it, and it was just a hit from the beginning. And once I could see how much the inmates and the deputies who have to take care of the inmates liked it, then I decided to get my C3 status from the IRS and put a board together. And so between then and when I met Ann, we've done somewhere between 250 and 270 of these classes and had about 1,000 inmate participants who've written 3,000 plus free writes and stood up and performed them in the jail classroom. And so what it winds up being, again, I learned it as a tool for writing, for creative writing, and I continue to use it in that way. But I also found it to be an excellent way for self-reflection, stress release, and just emotional health in general. And so you know, this free writing kind of helped me to find a way out of the legal profession. But I firmly believe that if I had learned it and done it when I was still working as a lawyer, I might have, it just might have allowed me to sort of relax and get in touch with who in the hell I really was, so that I might have found legal work that I enjoyed. I mean, it doesn't matter at this point, but I hope that some of you find it to be useful either for yourselves or your colleagues or anybody you know who might be struggling. So I can, so Linda or Ann, what I thought I might do is just pretend that this was a jail class and address the participants the same as I would the inmates, and get one of these writing exercises going. And then, I don't know, we might have time to do one or two of them. It depends on how many people are willing to share their writings out loud. I will be sharing mine. Maybe Anne, maybe you would be willing to share what you write. There's no way on earth to do this wrong except to stop and worry about whether what you're writing is good. So you could literally write, I'm stuck for 5 minutes, and that would be just as good as anything else that you might come up with. So I hope people will be up for this.
We have figured it out. So we can invite people to raise their hands, and then I can unmute them. So that Great. You know that's there.
Great. So depending on how many people we have who want to participate, we'll see how many of these we can do, but I hope people like it.
Excellent. Go ahead and address me as an inmate.
Okay. So this is exactly how it would go if we were sitting in the classroom in Quad 14 in the Hennepin County Jail, about 10 blocks south of where I am right now. All right, so I'm Nate. This is Free Writing. Thank you for coming. As it happens, I'm a recovering addict, alcoholic, and I've had my share of struggles with depression and anxiety. And that's not what this class is about per se. I only bring it up because this free writing that we're about to do is one of the ways that I stay on top of my stuff. You know, one of the ways that I stay sane and positive and in touch with who I am and what I care about. So I started this program because a friend of mine was locked up in Blue Earth County back in 2019, and I taught him this free writing, which I'm about to teach you, and it helped him. So I hope that it helps you. The way it works is I'm going to come up with a couple of writing prompts, however many we have time to do. You will write the prompt at the top of your piece of paper, or if you're using a laptop or tablet, you can write it at the top of that page too. And then when I say go, all of us will start writing, and you can take this prompt in any direction that you want, or you can completely disregard it and write about eggs and bacon, or you know, your great aunt who you just had a dream about. It doesn't matter. If you don't know what to write, you can write, I don't know what to write. I hate this exercise. I have to go to the bathroom. I'm hungry. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you keep it moving. And then at the end of the 5 minutes, we'll share. Anybody who wants to share what they've written is invited to do that. Nobody has to do that. And once I say go, I'll let you know when there's 1 minute left. And then when we get to the 5 minute mark, I'll just say, finish up whatever line or thought or sentence you're on. And then we'll see what everybody wants to do after that. So the first writing prompt is what I think. So I'll write it down. Okay, so I can't see anybody, but if this were a jail class, I would just wait till everybody looked up at me. So I'm going to start the clock in a few seconds, and then I'm going to mute my screen. Oh, I'm sorry. The prompt is what I think. Did everybody catch that? Okay, and we're going to start right now. About a minute left, folks. All right. So yeah, finish up whatever sentence you're on or whatever thought you're on. So Anne, I will read what I got, okay, and then should I be the one to say who wants to go or
Sure. Why don't you, as soon as you're done, then we'll just invite anyone who wants to share to raise their hand, okay. And hopefully I can figure out how to unmute them.
Okay, great. Okay, what I think my dog is making way too quick a meal of the bone I bought her at Target in the northern suburbs an hour ago. It's supposed to keep her occupied and relatively quiet the whole hour, but for Christ's sake, you can probably hear her chomping right now. Oh well, at least Linda's phone just rang and Desi the puppy isn't the only one unmuted. Oh wait, I am muted. You can't hear Desiree at all. And in a way, it's soothing to hear Linda working. It helps me feel supported. The other thing I think is that I can't hardly remember why I went to law school. I was 22 or 23 and barely knew my favorite color. Shit, I still don't know my favorite color. I really like pink and I like black and I like whatever color the sky is on a clear day around 3:30 in May in Minneapolis. Feel free to applaud, it's okay. All right, who else? You want to go, Ann?
Yeah. So mine is way longer because I was typing, not handwriting. No one wants to hear that brain dump. Let's see if
they do.
Let's first invite others.
Okay.
If anyone is willing to share, oh yeah, we have several. Awesome. So the first one on my list is Julie Waters. So I am going to press allow to talk and hopefully we can hear her. Julie, Julie just unmuted herself. Okay. So Julie, I think we should be able to hear you now.
Okay, great. I think our country is in trouble and it's up to each one of us to get involved however we can. Whether it's explaining to my 23-year-old son why voting is important after he told me, from my perspective, voting is a silly thing to bet on for changing anything, going door to door canvassing for causes we care about, or writing letters to our local, state, and federal officials. Our democracy is at serious risk. Corporations have too much power. Local newspapers, which used to cover what happened at state capitals, are shutting down or being bought by corporate conglomerates. Nobody's paying attention to what's happening in Sacramento, in Albany, in Harrisburg, etc. As a result, state legislatures are eroding our rights day by day, and there's no one covering this anymore. We need to wake up, people. Do we really want to tell future generations that we were asleep at the switch while our precious democracy slipped through our collective fingers?
All right. Julie, where are you from?
I'm originally from outside Boston, and I live in East Bay, near San Francisco.
Okay. Wow, thank you for that.
Sure. Sorry, it's a little much too inspired by recent events.
Okay.
It's on all of our minds, Julie. Thank you. All right. Next, I have, let's see, Sandra Gomez. So Sandra, let me take Julie off first. All right. And now I will invite Sandra.
Hello.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi.
We can hear you great. Go right ahead.
Today, the air quality is crappy because of all the fires. My throat has been burning, so I have been sucking on hard candies. My grandson had an asthma episode at school because of the air. I am sad that he has asthma, but I'm proud of my daughter, his mother, for making sure he has what he needs to be okay. I tend to think about my kids and my grandkids when I'm at work, when I have a brief gap in my busy day. Usually my days are nonstop, answering questions, doing research, reviewing cases. I love that I can glance to the right of my monitor and see the sweet notes from my grandson. And to the left of my monitor is the drawing of a fish tank that my second daughter drew for me for my very first law job. When I do get gaps in my day, I tend to think about random things. I jump around. When am I going to exercise? What am I making for dinner? Is my husband going hunting this weekend?
Yay, excellent. Thanks so much, Sandra. Hey,
Thank
Nate,
you,
do you want to
Sandra.
do another, or did you want to do another prompt?
Let's hear from a couple more people, including you, Anne, if you're not too afraid.
Pressing me. Let's do one other person.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Go to Eduardo Drake. I will invite him. There we go. Hi, Eduardo.
Hi.
Can hear you great.
Awesome. What I think is that this is a pretty cool exercise. I don't know what is going to happen. Kind of like thinking, I'm trying to read my handwriting now. Kind of like thinking I have some emotions or thoughts that I don't understand bubbling up. My father, who died 5 years ago, I miss him, and since unrealized issues, like I was vision of like I really wanted him to love me and to know that he loved me, and really wanted that desperately, but I didn't really feel it. I think this affects me and how I relate to people now, especially when I don't trust. This includes me too. Startling as I never thought that before, that I might not trust how I feel about people. I feel a little stuck around that. I don't trust my own feelings about people. It leaves me kind of ambivalent in a way. Good in the sense that I'm not overly reactive, at least in my own view. And maybe I'm perpetuating the same feeling that I didn't like as a kid.
Thank you, Eduardo.
I'm in Minneapolis too, I want to add.
Oh, really? Okay, okay. Eduardo,
I'm on my way to.
If you go to freewriters.org, Eduardo, you can email me and we could get coffee or something if you want.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay, okay.
All right, Nate, should I do mine or should we do someone else?
You don't have to if you don't want to. You don't have to, Anne.
Okay, I'll do it. Here we go.
Okay, okay.
It's not whatever. I think I'm feeling a little stressed out and overscheduled. I'm leaving immediately after this session to drive to Utah to give a talk to a group of women lawyers on well-being. Then I'm driving to Iowa to spend 2 months with my family. I'm also coming to Minneapolis.
Nice.
While there's construction going on in my house in California, I'm pretty sure I'm not packed yet and probably forgetting lots of stuff, but I should focus on this cool session and how much fun I'll have at my talk in Utah and seeing my family in Iowa. I have a bad habit of focusing on the stress in the situation and need to take a break and realize how awesome everything is and how well it's going. Then there's a little bit more, but that's good. That's the gist. Stressed but grateful.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you, Anne. All right, well, before we do another one, one thing I forgot to point out that I usually say to the inmate writers is that when I first did these free writes, like I want to address the connection to well-being. I felt kind of mentally free in the middle of these writings, in a way, I used to be a baseball player, and if somebody would hit a ball in the air to me, I knew that before it came down, I wasn't going to be thinking about my credit card debt or my student loans or my whatever relationship issues I had. And so I found that free writing was similar to that, where I just sort of let go of my earthly concerns while I dig, for whatever it is I'm thinking at the time in the present moment. And so when I shared that with inmates, I heard a lot of them say, yeah, this is the first time I felt like somewhat free, at least in my head, in however long that they've been there. And so, it isn't just people who are locked up who could use that. So let's do another one. This time, let's do.
And Nate, can I just interrupt you just for a quick second? It also, something you said also relates to some of a few questions that I was seeing, that there is, in the description of Nate's session on the website, there's also a link to some materials. And I just put a little bit of the science together of showing the link between different kinds of writing and various aspects of well-being, and then a description of one of the writing exercises, and also the link to leader and professional development and kind of an exercise for that. So there's a little bit more of the background there. All right, back to you, Nate. What's our next prompt?
Well, and Anne, thank you for putting that together. One of the ways in which I craft grant proposals now is to say that the research, some of which you alluded to, says that inmates that do this will have better mental health in the jail and be less likely to reoffend when they get out. And so, so yes, thank you for mentioning that. So let's do another one. Let's do the law. The law. All right, I'll set the 5-minute timer again. And I'll let you know when there's a minute to go. So let's start now. Yes, the prompt is the law. Take it in any direction you want to. 1 minute. All right, that's it.
All right, so I put everyone's hands down from the last one. So now the same question. If anyone would like to volunteer, we hope you will. Just raise your hand and we can unmute you.
I'll kick it off again. Gotta finish mine.
All right.
You might know some of the people, one of the people in this story. All right. The law. I'm stuck. I am really stuck. We're all lawyers here, which means we all passed the bar, me on my third try, but my first and only try in sobriety. I had a contracts professor at Iowa named Enrique Carrasco, who used to scare the living shit out of all of us 1Ls. We'd be in the big classroom with the stadium seating, jabbering about finals, happy hour, summer jobs, romantic gossip, politics, etc. And Carrasco would come in with that limp he had, dragging his lame foot behind him to the podium, and everybody would get dead quiet and hope not to be called on, because to be called on was to be called on for the whole hour and 15 minutes. When it was my turn in the hot seat, he asked a question, the answer to which was buried in a footnote I had ignored. He said, "Mr. Johnson, when you're practicing, you will ignore a footnote and you will pay for it, and you will think of me."
I never had Carrasco, but I of course know him. He was terrifying. It was like his job. I think he felt his job was terrifying law students.
Yes, I think so.
And I will say not everyone is lawyer. Not everyone is a lawyer or a former lawyer. Yeah, it's just people from the legal profession. So we have some lawyers, we have some folks that just work with lawyers, but mostly from the legal profession.
Gotcha, okay.
And everyone still has opinions about the law, whether, especially with everything that's going on right now. All right, we have a number of hands up. So the first one on my list is, I hope I'm saying this right. It's Elise, it might be Alice Fontenot. And I will unmute you.
Yes, it's Elise Fontenot.
Elise. Say the last name again.
Fontenot.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, I wrote, it's interesting to me to think about what the law means to everyone. How will everyone else on the call take this prompt? Will there be discussion about justice, right versus wrong, legal research, ethics, everyone's favorite for sure, or books, injustices, difficulty, land and water? What is possible? I prefer a discussion about the possibilities. What can happen when we all collaborate as a team on what we all want to see in the world? Can the law be synonymous with love, connection, commitment? Love being the driving force for the law instead of power, connection being how we determine law, and commitment being something we make to each other. The law is capable. It's possible for the law to be shifted into the most positive of possibilities. Will I get the chance to witness this while I'm still alive?
Beautiful. Elise is a poet. Elise is a poet.
Yeah, so thoughtful.
Oh,
wow. Okay, let's see who we have. Elise. And now I'm going to Jeffrey Mason.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Jeffrey.
I'd like to write a poem, but that would take too much thought. What is the law? A bunch of rules, guides, hurdles, restrictions, the same, always changing? Why can't it stay the same? Why can't it change to what I want it to be? Is there a universal law? Whose law is universal? Christian, Jewish, Islamic, Putin's, China's, North Korea's, Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians? Why do we phrase the law the way we want? There is no universal law because we are human.
Nice. Thanks so much, Jeffrey. Thanks for sharing. Keep going, Nate. Okay. Let's see. Next we have Amy Pruitt. Amy, I'm gonna unmute you now.
Thank you. The law has provided many amazing opportunities for me. Where I first started out as a starving musician in New York City, working for a music licensing agency, I knew there was more. I applied to law school to learn more about copyright, IP, and so many other areas. As I grew older, practicing what I thought I loved, there was still a disconnect with my passion of playing piano and writing music. I needed to find ways to use both sides of my brain, not just representing artists, but being one, allowing my creative juices to flow. Songwriting wasn't the only way to be creative. I went back to the practice of law to creatively find ways to negotiate, collaborate, and generate amazing opportunities for others.
Beautiful.
Great.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thanks so much, Amy.
Well, Anne, we could do one more, and then that'll probably take us to the end. Does that sound all right?
Sounds good. All right. The next one that I'm going to unmute is Joy Applewhite.
Hi, can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Joy.
Okay, great. The law. As a Black woman practicing as a public defender, I often wonder, why are we here? When lawmakers debate about what is legal and illegal, who are they thinking about? Are they considering that the laws they pass may harm communities more than they help? Do they think if we pass this law, will we also ensure that there are resources in communities to ensure everyone is protected? Or is the law just a thing that benefits some but not others? Is it a tool to continue the weaponization against Black and brown people? To keep people who struggle with low economic status like a crab at the bottom of the bucket trying to escape its prison? The law, it was never meant for me, but here I am practicing it. And I reflect on the time I was not even a law student, when I was a bright-eyed college girl, a small-town Southern gal who was in the city, experiencing a pre-law program to begin the journey towards my career in law. And the pain I experienced when article comments were exposed that said, "Why do we need more lawyers of color?" And my pre-law mentor, who is also my soror, advised us we have to be like a giraffe and rise above what is quite frankly the bullshit. And now I'm here practicing the law to advocate for the people who are disregarded too often.
Nice. Thanks so much, Joy. Really thoughtful.
And we could write one more time, like a 3-minute thing. It depends on how you want to run the 10 minutes we have left. What do you think?
It's really up to you. I don't really have any closing, anything important other than keep participating in Wellbeing Week in Law, so we can go. If you want to invite people to ask questions, then you can leave time for that. But really, it's up to you.
Sure.
You want to do one more? We can have.
Yeah, let's do a quick one and have a couple people read, and then we'll do a couple minutes of questions if there are any. Let's do the year 2000. All right, everybody. I'm just going to let it go until the timer stops. So 3 minutes and go. The year 2000. All right. Okay, I'll start. All right. The year 2000, I was ... Why do I always start with I? It was, my mom was a computer. I'm stuck. My parents were almost done with their marathon divorce, and I was almost done with a degree in political science. I was raised by an uncle to become a Republican politician, and I'm so glad to feel my skin crawl when I say that. It's not so bad being in this particular skin on this particular day. It's getting looser, but in that respect, my skin is like my favorite pair of jeans. It took a while to break them in, and I need to make sure to pay attention to the threadbare parts.
Excellent.
All right, let's hear from a couple people, Anne.
All right. I had Lilia Reze actually said I wanted to go next, and she was first, but Lilia, you didn't raise your hand. There's a raise your hand down at the bottom. Let me see if I can find you though. Lost you. Maybe now you raised your hand. All right. Sorry, I'm not seeing you. So I'm just, the first one on my list is Lindsay Allday. And so I will unmute you, Lindsay.
Hi, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I've got my kid here too, so sorry for that. Okay. So tonight we're going to party like it's 1999. What was the issue called when computers couldn't figure out how to add an extra 1 to 1999 and change the thousands place? I can't remember. If I had my mind downloaded to a computer, what would ever be left? I hope I don't have early Alzheimer's, but I feel like a hourglass of sand with a few leaky holes. All my memories slowly falling away grain by grain, but we all fade. So I am okay with this. I existed. It was beautiful while it lasted. My human experience, as they say. That's it.
All right, Lindsay. Lovely.
All right. Thanks for sharing. Lilia, now I see you. I'm unmuting you. Lilia, it looks like you're muted. And Lindsay, I will mute you.
Hello?
There you go. Now we can hear you.
Hi. Sorry about that. Hi.
Hello. We can hear you loud and clear.
So the year 2000 was the year I graduated high school. Simpler times, without social media, phones, or insane beauty standards and expectations. Kids have it so hard these days. Organic times, best times of my life. Deciding who I wanted to be when I got older and where I wanted to be in my life. 22 years came fast like a blink of an eye. I still dress the same.
Nice. Thank you. Thanks.
So, Anne, it looks like we're kind of out of time, but if people have any questions for me, I don't know the best way that somebody might implement this in their workplace, but if the effect is anything like what it was in my writing class or like it is in the jail classes, it certainly helps to improve people's mood and increases empathy with the people in the group, be they colleagues at a law firm or in a prosecutor's office or wherever. So, I mean, people can run with this in any direction that they see fit, but I'm glad to have been able to show it to a few of you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Nate. And I also, there was a question in that came just to us about like, can you do this individually or is it really better in groups? And it really is both. Like the research shows that it's both, that it is a really effective individual activity, especially if you're trying to work through a problem. And in that, like free writing works, but it's also like what the research suggests is if you try to use because language so that you create meaning out of the situation that you're dealing with, that can be really helpful. But in groups, you can see just like how easy this was, that, Nate gave some prompts and you might all think about like, what would be the prompts for your group? But if, there was so much energy and people interested in sharing and loving their reactions to others that we think this could be set up by people who continue to be interested in a pretty easy way. And I also see some questions about where are the materials, and I will put the link in the chat box, but they are also, let me do that real quick. Where you registered on the Wellbeing Week in Law website on the For Individuals page where Nate's session is described, there's a hyperlink to the materials there. And I just put them in the chat as well. And it's just a few page documents, just kind of summarizing some of the research and talking about some pretty simple exercises. Nate, did you have something else?
Just if people have questions for me or comments, you can email me at nate@freewriters.org. And I'm happy to chat with anybody about this or about anything else. It's just been great to be with everybody today.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Nate. I think it was just such a good alignment with what our topic was today, with the well-being dimension that we're focusing on today for Wellbeing Week. And there was so much energy in the participation. So I'm just so happy that you were able to join us, Nate. And thank you to everyone who shared. And I'm sorry we didn't get to everyone who wanted to share, but we hope you really enjoyed the activity and found it useful. And we still have a couple of days left of Wellbeing Week. So please keep looking at the website and checking out the other good things that we have coming. We have a couple of free webinars still coming for the rest of the week. And we hope to see you there. And otherwise, have a great rest of your week. And Nate, thanks again.
Thank you.